Hey everyone, Zeddy here again today with a brand new video, and it's that time of the month, beginning of the month, where I give you my assessment of where the decks are in terms of power level in a tier list for both Standard and Wild. Today we'll be starting with Standard, and we'll be evaluating 9 decks on a 3-tier scale, Tier 1, Tier 2, Tier 3, Tier 1 being the best, most powerful decks in the format, Tier 2 being very powerful, but not quite the best, and Tier 3 being quite often more honorable mentions, more flavorful stuff, or just stuff that's fallen off. So yeah, I've taken a look at 9 decks for Standard and Wild today. Again, we'll be going over Standard, so if you want that Wild tier list, make sure you hit that sub button, you hit that notification bell to get notified for when that video goes live tomorrow. So let's take a look at the best decks in Standard in September of 2020. So starting off with Tier 1, we're going to continue with a similar trend that we saw last month, and that's Bomb Warrior. It's definitely, for me, still the best deck, the most consistent deck in Standard. It has changed a little bit over the past month. It's become much more greedy. It's been really tailored to push out Priest. Priest was very popular throughout August and basically has been pushed a lot out of the meta due to Bomb Warrior and how very greedy it is in terms of it's just upgrading the weapon. It runs Galakrond a lot of the time, and Kronks, a lot of the decks don't even run Risky Skipper Armorsmith. It's purely on the upgrade. But people are starting to put in Risky Skipper Armorsmith as Priest has been pushed out, and the aggression is really starting to emerge. And well, you struggle with the aggression without having Skipper Armorsmith to give you that sustain, that life. So, but yeah, the deck's very popular, very good, does very well at all ranks, and is very up on the tier list across the score. Next, we have Stealth Rogue. Very aggressive rogue deck built around Secret Passage, cheap stealth minions. You have your 3-minute draw card as well. And yeah, it just goes face. Some people run like Sinister Strike just to get that cheap burn in when you're playing Secret Passage. And it has done incredibly well at all ranks. People have just been flocking to it on my Legend climbs so far this month. It's definitely the most common deck I have seen. And it's very powerful. You play a lot of cheap early game. You draw a lot of cards. You have Edwin, and you have questings in some of these builds. Some people are weaving in like Evil Miscreant and Wandmaker for some value, not going just pure aggro. And the deck's a powerhouse. It's fast, it's efficient, and it does a good job of climbing. So if you're looking for that fast Legend deck, Stealth Rogue is probably the best deck to go in terms of pure speed, outside of maybe one other deck we'll mention. Next is Malygos Druid, the last Tier 1 deck. Druid is still really good. It's still insanely good. Well, without Kael'thas, you don't need it. You still have Overgrowth. You still have Guardian Animals. And I've seen a lot more of the somewhat more anti-aggro Malygos Druid build where you don't run Geppetto. You're running like the Anubisat, the 0-mana taunts to cheat out with your Guardian Animals or your Overflow, and that helps you survive in the early game. You're not running Nature Studies. You're not running Bog Beam. You're just kind of running more healing and removal and taunts. And that gives you a better shot against the aggressive decks. And the Malygos combo aspect of the deck is probably one of the weakest. It's like you barely even use it to play it to like kill your opponent. It's more of just like you Omu to gain tempo or have a big swing turn where you win the game with that. But the deck is still performing extremely well at high ranks across the board because, yeah, cheating out a bunch of stuff is just very powerful. Next, we'll take a look at the Tier 2 decks, and one that I was very close to putting Tier 1 instead of Malygos Druid. I want to give it a little more time, but that's like Tempo Mage, Small Spell Mage, whatever you want to call it. It is very popular right now. There's a ton of people playing multiple variants of it. I think Orange today hit rank 1 Legend on his Legend climb with it, and a lot of people have hit very high ranks with it. And it's just all about generating random stuff with your cheap spells, your small spells, or your Wand Thieves, or your spell damage stuff. And yeah, you cheat a bunch out with Apprentice, and of course you have your Mana Giants to cheat out. And you've got like your Stat Bomb and Jandis and all of that. And the deck is, yeah, just performing incredibly well. It turns out cheating mana and generating a bunch of random stuff is really good, and it's performing very well. It just can struggle with some aggression. It can struggle with like aggro hitting you in the face because, well, there's not much healing. There's not a lot of taunts. So some people have even like teched in a mirror image and things like that. But yeah, the deck seems to be doing very well. Looks a lot of fun to play. generating a lot of random stuff, cheating mana, but it can be a real frustration to face, especially when someone's played like 3 primes against you and then they play a prime at cast a box and you get scammed out of a win and you rage on your stream. That might be me, you never know. But yeah, very powerful deck and is doing very well. Next, we have Weapon Rogue. Very similar to Stealth Rogue, has a lot of the similarities with the stealth minions and all of that, but it's built around your weapons. So you have your self-improving, whatever it's called, I can't remember, but the 3 mana 1/4 weapon that keeps growing. You buff it. You have your Blade Master, the 4 drop that gives you a minion at the same cost of your attack, and that can be insane high rolls with that. I got scammed by like giant taunt minion that they got for like an Iron Bark. You can get like Tyrion. Crazy stuff. I think I saw Cantaloupe get like King Crush for lethal. It was ridiculous. And the deck has some real, like, it high rolls way harder than the other Rogue deck, but I find it's less consistent than Stealth Rogue. But it's very good. If you get that perfect curve where you get that weapon and all the upgrades and you just have this giant weapon, like, unless it gets weapon removed, you're dealing 1 billion damage, you're summoning minions for either 0 mana or drawing cards for 0 mana with, like, cutting class and all of that. It's just super powerful, and again, very popular. Not quite as popular as Stealth Rogue, but very, very good. Another deck that is very popular and very aggressive is Face Hunter. Yeah, yet another aggressive archetype. There's a lot of aggression on ladder, and it is doing very well. It curves caps out at 4, so it's classic Face Hunter, and you even have like Polkelt, so you can like top deck Dragon's Bane into like Kill Command, into Animal Companion, and all that. And you have your like early game like Warple Tinger, and you have like the 1 mana 1/2s that spell burst, gain +2 to attack, and you have Voracious Reader, so you can refill your hand, and it's just good at punishing all of these greedy value decks like the Tempo Mage. It can do well against Druid because you have like Freezing Trap, and some people run even like Pressure Plate to punish them and all that. It's a very powerful deck, very aggressive, very fast, and another deck that if you're looking for a fast Legend climb, you certainly can consider it. It's pretty low skill cap. Go face, trade when you got to, but yeah, pretty classic Face Hunter. Now in Tier 3, we'll take a look at some more interesting decks. There are some other like really good decks out there that I'm not going to list, like Hate Lock, Dark Lair, Standard Warlock's really good. But we're going to talk about ones that I personally find at least interesting. And we have, first off, the deck that I've been playing a lot of, we highlighted it yesterday, is Shard Demon Hunter, or Demon, whatever you want, Soul Shard Demon Hunter. It's really good in this aggressive meta. There's a lot of aggression. I'm facing a lot of rogues, a lot of mages, a lot of warlocks, a lot of hunters, and you do very well against all of them. You have board clears, you have all of your healing with your soul shards, and war blades as well. You have a ton of healing, ton of AoE, and then you burn your opponent down. You kill them in the long game. You have a Lucia to sell, to get that bomb that they can't deal with. It just, the deck struggles with one of the top tier, 2 of the top tier decks, and that's the big thing with it. 2 of the top tier decks, Bomb Warrior and Druid. It's a real hard matchup, with Warrior being almost unwinnable. It's barely winnable at all, especially if they're running Armorsmith, and Malygos Druid being very difficult. You really need Blade Dance to carry you, or Magthridon to carry you, and even then, it's often not enough. But the deck does very well against aggression. It's a super sweet deck in terms of there's no random. Everything's in your deck that started there, so that's cool. And I'm having a blast playing it, so I gotta recommend it. And I think it's a solid Tier 3, maybe Tier 2 deck, but the Tier 1 decks that are really popular definitely do put down a notch. Next, we have Turtle Mage, the mage deck that Eddie made famous the last couple of weekends. It's doing pretty well. Luker, he recently has been doing very well with it, got a decent legend on it, and hit legend very quickly today as well. Day 1 legend with Turtle Mage, and yeah, it's very uninteractive, it's very slow, and you go infinite with turtles. You potion them, and you can either just heal a bunch, or burn your opponent out, freeze them out, do all that. Very crazy. It just suffers to, it's got to deal with all the early game aggression somehow. It's got to get to turn 8, turn 9 without dying. And that can be a bit of a struggle in a very aggressive meta that we're seeing. So that's why I don't want to put it top tier, but it's definitely one to look out for. And number 3 is, well, Pure Paladin. You don't see it a lot on ladder. I don't see a ton on ladder, but the numbers for Pure Paladin are super strong. Like, it's such an interesting deck. Like, it has all of these undercosted, overstated minions and spells and effects. The win rate seems really good across most ranks, but you just don't see it a lot at high legend, at the higher ranks, because it just gets punished by things like devolving missiles and saps and things like that from Rogue and Mage, which are just so prevalent. And yeah, against Priest it can be a struggle, but the numbers on the deck don't lie. It's super good, super powerful, and the cards are just insane. You have your Librams, you have like a crazy value bomb in Liadrin, you can cheat out healing, you can cheat out taunts, you have, you know, random one drops that can be crazy. The deck is just very powerful. You just, at least at my ranks, I just don't see it a lot. And I mean, as playing Demon Hunter, that's good because it's bad for me with that, but it's just a deck that you definitely, I feel like people might be slipping on a little bit. So that's my tier list for September 2020 for Standard. Let me know in the comments below what decks are working for you. What am I overrating? What am I underrating? What should I have mentioned? There's always a bunch I missed or a bunch I've screwed up on, and I always like to hear what you guys think. But these are my opinions, trying to give you guys some advice. And as always, deck codes will be in the description below. And if you're looking for wild decks, make sure to tune in tomorrow where we'll have the wild tier list for that. So again, make sure to sub. And sorry for the Canucks merch these days. I'm cheering on my boys until they get knocked out, inevitably. But until then, I'll be wearing my merch. And I love my Canucks. Have a great day, and stay salty, my friend.